Okay.
Faraway dreams, mysteries, other worlds, other light, the stars, planets.
EliteMasterEric stream ever. Okay. Okay. Here we are. Can you hear me now? Is everything good? Okay. Hi everyone. Since I haven't figured out a thing for I haven't figured it. Yeah, I might do some bug fixing, but the main focus of today will be going over all the stuff I worked on for the update, or at least most of it, because I worked on a lot of stuff for the update. Hi Broke, hi Live. I can see you in the chat. Oh. Okay. Can we see this? Okay, there we go. Okay. I'm going to Slippy Burger is now following. If you can hear that, fine. I'd like some music on, even though I haven't like figured out a proper thing for music. Will there be a public mod support GitHub page with mod tutorial stuff officially made by the Funkin' crew? There should be, yes. Let's see if I can get everything set up. I'm getting a bunch of follows, yay. All right, I'm gonna try to think about what I worked on sort of chronologically, or I guess, or maybe let's just go alphabetically. I didn't really touch let's see. I'm just playing Volume 3 official soundtrack instrumental because I haven't figured out a choice for like royalty free music that won't get me muted. I have music turned off in VODs, but I haven't figured out a choice for like something that will prevent me from like getting like DMCA'd because I'm scared of that. I want to just do all Kevin MacLeod. I get tired of that immediately. Oh, here's Spooky's Erect. I am the #1 Spooky's Erect defender. So just kind of looking over the code here. We've got code for ABOT. ABOT was mostly Cam's doing. I didn't really touch any of this. ABOT is still not working in there was an issue that prevented him from working on desktop. I think it had to do with the fact that like there was like a performance issue on desktop. Cinderreal, does Funkin 0.3.2 compile on latest Flixel library versions? Want to know. So we use this thing called hum, which is a thing that lets us specify specific versions for libraries. We're using a fork of Flixel right now that is close to latest, I believe. And it keeps everything... when you say hum install, it installs these specific versions for you. And so you never get... we have Flixel forks. We have everything forks. Like I keep finding enough issues. We keep finding enough issues in the dependency libraries that we end up forking every other library that we use. which is why it's important that the Funkin source code is public, because we rely so much on open source existing. Thank you, people, for following. What was it? Lala, Ki, Kenji, and Val End. I need to try to read out the names of the people that follow. Who else followed this stream? Wizard Mantis, Toasted Milk, Codist, hi Codist, Terravex, Num Drop Roll, Slippy Burger, Walter White 316. There's a lot. Sorry if I don't get to all of you. Thank you for the follows. Is Hum publicly available or an internal tool? It is a publicly available tool. The what was the thing? So Hacks, they developed a built-in thing that does like what I can't tell if this person is the real Phantom Arcade or not. It is. There he is. Dave trolled me in chat. I'm pinning that. You basically saved FNF modding. That is very kind of you. When's the Hacks Pixel tutorial videos? Maybe someday. But let's look over some of this code. I wrote a waveform handler that it parses the data from a waveform or from a sound file and turns it into like this is like an amplitude waveform, and so it ends up looking a bit different than like the frequency waveforms that you see on like ABOT. But if you but this is what's used for the chart editor. Sorry for all the issues on GitHub. It's fine as long as you keep them as long as you keep the issues like pretty clear, and if you include like videos or if you like include videos or like screenshots, and that really helps with getting issues resolved. You can change the BPM in the chart editor from the. I should start trying to build. I should start trying to build the game so I can kind of show off what I'm talking about as I work on it. Yeah, a lot of. So there's a bunch of. Oh, I forgot to actually run Hum on this this copy. This is a clean copy of the public repo that I made specifically for streaming, so that I'm not working in my NDA folder. There's a bug that if you have the X event selected and try to select Y event, the game will crash because the program is checking the X values and Y events. That sounds valid. Let's see. So how the data stuff works. One of the probably like the first thing I did when I joined the team is try to make everything be driven by JSON. I'll show you how to change the base BPM, Gabriel, but I don't think there's not really a good way to change like the BPM mid song right now. Yeah, so as an example, it used to be just the chart data that was JSON. But now we do all this different stuff with JSON. What is what? I don't know what this person is talking about, calling me a tasty morsel. So what would you say is the best resource for learning audio programming? I don't know very much about audio programming. Yeah, before I forget, check this out. I can do this. I can do this with my little character. I can do this. And this one is for when somebody does something weird. Anyways, oh, there's Kay. Hi. How did I learn hacks? I literally just like thought FNF was cool and started tearing apart Kate Engine like immediately. Still messing with the mod tools as of late. Hopefully the stage editor gets super fucking gripped out soon. The current stage editor. Am I still on skeptical mode? How did I mute? That's so dumb. Hang on. Is there like a... Oh my god. There's like some weird keybind. So like it looks like whatever I've got bound to the mute key is the exact same as my bind for changing faces. I'm going to turn off the mute keybind. Where is the mute keybind? Got a whole bunch of yeah, so there's people talking about the stage editor. The stage editor in like the next patch is probably going to be disabled for a while, and then in a patch after that, when we've got it fully working, we'll re-add it, because it's very it's barely functional right now. It's definitely not in a state that we would consider it shippable, I guess. BPM change built-in event. That's one of the things we want to add, but that's very difficult. I need to find where the hell the mute hotkey is in this in OBS. Mute. There we go. Clear hotkey. There we go, because I'm using that hotkey. So yeah, stage editor is supposed to be able to it's supposed to be able to position stuff and give you a JSON, because how stages work is you position each of the props in data. Like you position each of the props in data, and then you go in and the reason that's Mr. No Hobby. The reason why that's the pinned message is Phantom Arcade sent that. That's why. Oh. Hang on. How do I mute people on Discord? Or how do I mute people on Twitch? Manage. I don't know how to mute people. Slash mute. What was it? It's not slash mute because it's not showing up in there. I give up. Apparently you get this. Hang on. Trying to read all these comments. Will there be Discord RPC added to base Funkin? It wasn't, but I think it broke. I know I saw a pull request about Discord RPC. Did I already have programming knowledge before Funkin? I've probably been programming for probably about 10 years before working on Funkin, at least. Is there a chance to make it so that FNFC files can be loaded as story mode and free play songs? That is something I've been thinking about looking into. You guys should move Discord RPC to a Funkin team account instead of a random contributors one. It's not a problem since we pin to a specific version of Discord RPC, and 2, we use code from other people all the time. I just realized that I'm accidentally covering the notification thing with my weird message about Nene Speaker. Okay. Will the new grounds login screen be added in a future update? Maybe, I don't know. We definitely want to do a rework to some of the integration stuff. It would be nice to be able to change the location of the mods folder on Mac. We can look into that. It's definitely, I definitely need to figure out a good location for that to go. One sex week. No comment. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the actual code base. Conversations, dialog boxes, and speakers are all JSON. Characters are all JSON now. Story levels are all JSON now. Of course, the chart data is already JSON, and the stages are all JSON. And the best part of this is that if say you've got like School Evil, for example, and you've got the background and you've positioned it and everything's good, but you want to add a shade, like you want to apply a shader over it. You just go to you just make a script file, and then once the stage is built, you can apply a shader to a named prop from the JSON, or you can like for example, in Too Hot we apply a rain shader over everything, and that's all done in the HXC files, which are the script files that we interpret. And this stage stuff was one of the first things that I ever did for the game. Oh, I need to zoom in VS Code. Let's see how big that is on stream. I think that's a good size. I'm gonna start making a build so I can kind of show off what I'm talking about. But like this is drastically better than it was. Play state, it's long now because we added so much functionality to it, but none of the code in play state is like specific to each week. Tips for people who want to learn HScript: look through what's already in the game right now. We built weekend one like almost all HScript. But yeah, this was one of the first things that I ever did for Funkin, was take all the stage stuff and split it off into its own. I don't know what this is complaining about. Here we go. I split it off into its own separate code, because previously all the stage stuff would be in this one playstate file, and everything was so song specific that you couldn't even get anything done in here. So it was a very good use of time to make that change. 32-bit Windows, OS X and Linux builds for sure, but I don't know about what the plan is for 32-bit Windows. I don't even know if the game will even work on there anymore. We might have changed a bunch of stuff. But yeah, PlayState, it's all changed to have. There's no level specific stuff in here anymore. There's no character specific stuff in here anymore. It's there's a bunch of features in here that like are used, but like I think only by the chart editor and stuff, and like they might be a good to say put into like a future update, for example. Where is it? You have the ability to set a start time stamp and a playback rate. And that is used for when you're charting, but like being able to practice a song by playing it over and over and doing that from free play menu would be really cool, maybe in the future. But for now, you can access these if you go into like the chart editor and you start midway through. Oh, is that the game trying to start so I can demonstrate all this stuff? I can't. It is. I'm going to demonstrate what I was just talking about. Chart editor. Is this story war territory, but will mods at some point get their own section in the free play menu? We'll figure out something for mods for sure. Why did you delete the song Bro in the source code? Bro isn't real. What are you talking about? Does chart editor respect input delays? I don't know. I don't think so. Our free play favorite's going to save in the next patch, I believe. Let's look into let's look at the code for free play right now. This was mostly cam. I was pretty hands off on this. Is fave. Yeah, it just straight up doesn't. It just straight up doesn't. It just straight up doesn't save it. Before we look at free play, I wanted to show this off. If you go to playtest properties, you can check start at current time, and you can go to like a point in the middle of a song, and then you can press enter. And boom, you're in the middle of the song rather than the start. And something really cool you can do that I kind of slipped in is if you like set the playback speed in here. Oh, you can't see the game running. Hang on. If I do that, there we go. The cool thing is if you set the playback speed here and do this, if we Maybe if we turn it up a bit higher. The game's kind of loud right now too. Hang on. So if I go here and then I press enter here, when you play test, it goes slow. You should open the full uncensored source code and spoil everything in the game. No, I specifically made a new that I would say that was an oversight, and I just kind of left it in. It's useful, personally. I think it's useful. You can already go up and down in a chart by pressing W and S. But if you go in here, you do live input mode, and you set it to WASD plus arrow keys, then pressing W and S will place notes. Let's switch back to the game. Yeah, so a quick glance of the code says that like it doesn't, like there's just no code for saving the favorites. So I guess that must have been like overlooked during testing or something. Was the chart editor inspired by Arrow Vortex? Very much so. That's why I added the live inputs, so you can like do stuff like that. Because Arrow Vortex is a very powerful and a very useful tool, and so I like looked at how they did things to kind of try to make them work well with Funkin. Yeah, Arrow Vortex, Mario Maker, Adobe Animate, were all like looked at very closely to like, how does Mario Maker make his interfaces look fun? How does Adobe Animate kind of let you skim around? How does Arrow Vortex let you quickly make charts? All that stuff was very influential. Okay, good night. What have I not? One thing I want to kind of go over is there's a song event system that I made, which is like used for this column. If you look here, this data here is automatic, like it's generated based on the event type. So if you go in to say focus camera song event, there's a whole bunch of code that takes the data from the chart in and then performs the action you told it to. And then there's all this data down here that tells you what fields to display in this view when you're selecting the event and getting ready to place it. Can you shed any light on the lack of the hold note system from previous builds? Seeing the way characters jitter when I hit a hold. That was always so. the hold note system. Let's look into the hold notes. Basically, the way hold notes used to work, it was literally just multiple triangular notes like tiled on top of each other. And the reason like characters were even singing in the first place is because it was just counting that you were hitting multiple notes. And with this update, I wanted to fix a bunch of the rendering issues that were a result of that stuff. And so we redid it so that it's like uses all this UV data math. And so when you look at it in game, it's just one big long rectangle that you can set the size of. And as part of that, I had to redo how the characters look. I wish there was a way to change the length of already placed notes. So if you've got a note here, you can't add length to it. But if you've got an existing note, you can drag and change the length of it. Oh, I don't know. It's breaking right. It's the visuals on it are breaking right now. I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know why it's like that. So when I was working on fixing the way characters sang, because like when I first implemented it, the characters wouldn't sing at all. And so when I went in and was changing it, I was like, I might as well just make it so that they properly hold on the animation. And if Dave wants to make it do something special, he can do it. Like give me an animation and I'll play that. But yeah, that's like the characters like I don't think we're ever intended to like jitter like that because it looks very off-putting. So that is now fixed. What was the person? Somebody asked something I wanted to answer. Have I ever visited Funk G? No. If you see somebody on Funk G as claiming to be me, that's almost certainly not me. Now that the source code is out for bug fixing, bug catching, do you guys plan on releasing a build with bug fix updates for people who do not have the means to compile the game? The plan is to... Thank you for the follow, Minty for Leaves. The plan is to make a 0.3.3 bug fix build. And then that'll include a bunch of bug fixes that we worked on and a bunch of bug fixes that the community submits. Does the chart editor currently support hurt notes and stuff? Not right now. You can kind of like manually code them in the way we like scripted in the stuff for weekend 1, but otherwise not really. Yeah, mod scripts will be able to do it for sure. So then the stage editor will probably have to we're probably going to disable it for a bit and then re-enable it later when it's more stable and featureful. Not really sure when that'll be though. Might be like later down the road, like medium term. It's not going to take a really long time, but it might take a while. What I want to go over. Okay, so the thing I wanted to go over is the system known as script events, which these are different from song events. Anytime something happens in the game, what version will the stage area be in? I don't know. That's why I didn't say. Let me try to find a good example of a event. So let's say you want to run some code every time. Like say you want to run some code in a script every time you retry a song. PlayState dispatches a song retry event every time the song retries. This goes to the dispatch event function. And when it does, it sends it uses the script event dispatcher, and it calls the relevant functions on each of the scripted classes in the that are currently active. So it starts with dispatching to all the modules, which are basically a global script that gets added mostly by mods, and every module starts up when the game starts and doesn't stop until the game stops, and so you can do things anywhere by doing that. What is the reason for the FNFC file format being unused in the base game files? It's FNFC files are kind of purely for the sake of chart making right now, like sending charts between people. When you're looking to put the song in game, you have to extract the metadata out of it and put it down into the right folders. Yeah, somebody mentioned that like if you let me see if I can replicate this issue that someone was getting. I did, the game crashed. That's just delightful. So basically, if you press 7 to get into a song, you're looking at the song with all the difficulties in it, which means easy, normal, hard, and direct nightmare. We probably should make it focus on the difficulty that you just came from. But you need to code that in. Like we need to code that in explicitly to get that to work. Anyways, if I... Oh, wrong thing. If I go to... let's make this bigger. If I go to Dad Battle Erect... and then I press 7. I guess sort of the issue here is that it starts you out on normal, but if you click down here, then you can get to erect that way. Or you can go to window difficulty and then you get kind of a list of them. And you can select which one you want to be on. It takes a second to switch variations because you're loading a new instrumental in, but I think it's messed up the hang on. I don't know if it's like messed up the BPM here. Cause like I'm changing it and it's not, yeah. I'm doing good. Tries it allows you to give song variations. Multiple difficulties at once with the import legacy option would be, yeah, that'd be useful. We need to figure out a good UI flow that like makes it not like a pain in the ass to use, because previously, before I invented FNFC files, you had to like import like 5 different files just to load somebody else's chart, and it was a pain in the ass. You got reminded of the Siva chart assisting program for turning vocal midis from DAWs into playable charts. I think we're just going to stick with using with improving this chart editor. When a variation is loaded, it doesn't get adjusted correctly. Okay, that's a pretty good tip. Getting a lot of first-time chats today. Hi. Let's see. Oh, I'm trying to look at my stream preview. There we go. So, something. What else did I work on? Weekend 1. I did weekend 1. I did wait. I did if people saw the like can stuff in weekend 1, that was me. I did all this like logic behind like spawning the cans and like playing the like animation and making sure that it was all synced. That was me. I did that. Yay. Somebody found in the files like some older animations of Pico. There was a point in time where Pico would like where Pico's like arm and gun were separated in his animation, and like the gun was then like set to a different angle based on where the can was, and it was pretty buggy and it was a bit subtle in practice. So like we ended up just replacing it with the generic, with a single animation. Wire hit sounds in the chart editor delayed because I guess that's just a bug. Because the charters were able to use them just fine. I've checked and it's not a sound file thing. There was at one point a sound file thing. I'm trying to. What other stuff have I not covered? I remember seeing where. I didn't finish talking about script events, so. Yeah, like when the song gets reset, a message gets sent to the modules, the stage, all the character scripts, all the song scripts, and all the dialogue scripts. And then that lets you call the corresponding function from an HXC file. So if I do like on song retry, you can see that this character script has stuff in it to make sure that Darnell resets to idle when you restart Blazin. Will there be an updated guide to the mod tools? Is that up to the community to do? I would say we're definitely going to try to have some official documentation for that stuff, but to kind of keep it'll be kind of hard to keep things comprehensive without the community. You planning on adding puddles back in weekend 1? You'll have to wait and see. Will there be different hit sounds at some point, because I find them kind of annoying. Probably not. Maybe we'll add them in the future, but this menu is already getting kind of, there's a lot of stuff in this menu already. Did you guys ever fix that bug that caused the Blazing cutscene to sometimes not play and skip to the fight scene? Before we continue, I remember the exact issue and then I just forgot to fix it. The issue, let's fix a bug live on stream today, folks. Blazin.hxc, this is the script file. When you restart the song, it sets has played cutscene. Well, this is when you end the song, it says has played cutscene to true, and then plays a video, and then it'll end the song again later. And if it's already done it, then it will just skip it and actually end the song. And that's how we is that wrong? That is just a script event. This value is already getting set, I think, so I just remove this. The main problem is there is a function. I thought for sure it was in here. I might have fixed it already. Optional feature to make the strum line for the chart editor be in the middle like it used to. I don't know what you mean. It is in the middle. Yeah, that's in the middle. I don't know what you mean. I thought for sure that this was unfixed, I guess. Yeah, the error, so somebody mentioned in the chat there's an error with, oh, you're talking about like the playhead. Yeah, you can just drag the playhead around, or you can hold Alt and like scroll and move it around. And some sort of keybind check that checks if a key is already on use. Yeah, this playhead was sort of like Dave's grand idea for like getting around, and the specific point you're at in the song is determined by this playhead, not your scroll position. So you can like be up here or like down here. Somebody asked if these I don't know if you can see my cursor right now. This is over here, and this is over here. This is intentional, and I keep getting asked this all the time. This is intentional. Don't. We're not changing it. Anyways. I think Blazon is fixed already. Let me where does stuff like flash where the song plays while you drag the head? You do it. Could you add an optional thing where it does stuff like flash where the song plays when you drag the playhead, but at the rate you do it, like when you drag it back, it reverses it? That used to be a thing, but it was very buggy, so I turned it off. Like if I do this, yeah, that's why we don't do it biome seed, because it sounds very awkward. Yeah, I thought for sure Blazon was still bugged, but I think I fixed it. Is the rain in Blazon supposed to slow down after not pressing a note for a few seconds? Can't hear the game. Yeah. I think I have to do like that. Can you hear that? No. Okay, we can hear it now. Did the original chart editor have a way to scroll off the cheese, or am I tweaking? We already have. So if you don't have the live input mode turned on, then you can scroll with the arrow keys. You can scroll with the page up and page down. You can go farther with shift. You can go less far with control. Anyway, the thing I was gonna show is that like there is like a thing to like if you like start playing the song and then start dragging the playhead around, it like really messes it up. Yeah, so don't do that. It just messes it up. There's not really a way to make it not like there like I can like turn off the music while it does that, but like I can't really while I wait for this was the free play favorite bug fixed already? It's not fixed already. There's a couple bugs that were fixed. Is there a specific part of the will this hit sound delay get fixed? People have been telling me that there's a hit sound delay. I haven't been able to really reproduce it personally. If I get a thing to fix it, then that's free play state is a substate now, and let me show you why. With that chart editor crash again. When you add node scripts, we separate all the two hot can stuff so you can do it any song. Maybe it's kind of hard because two hot can stuff, it's tied heavily into the character script, it's tied heavily into the stage script, it's tied heavily into the song script, so you can't get it working. Yeah, so free play state is a substate because of the transition. Play state is also a substate because we use it in as the to like get into the play test without messing up. Yeah, play state is a substate because we use it to get into to get from the chart editor to the play test quickly and then get back, because that's how you like don't get like a whole big long loading thing when you go from play state to back to chart editor. That's why it's instant. I forgot to do the thing again. Main monitor. If I do this, then I'm in gameplay, and then I return to chart editor, instant, because I'm just closing a substate. There's some really like as we work on stuff, there's a couple really cool things we can probably do with play state being a substate in the future or two. I forgot to answer the question about the Blazing Rain slowing down. Yeah, that's a thing that Cam implemented. Do you plan on adding options to mid song? I don't know what that means. Like, are you talking about like being able to access the options menu from like the pause menu? Kind of like TGT. I don't know what that is. So like I personally don't like. I'm personally advocate against having an options menu in the pause menu because there's too much potential for bugs, I think. Finn4K08 says, do you plan on fixing the speaker not working on weekend one on itch and Windows? Um, where's this? There we go. Yeah, Fin4K08. If somebody in the chat tells me how to apply a temp mute to somebody, on Twitch, then Fin4K08 is getting a temp mute, because I've been getting a message about Nene for like Finn. I've been getting a message about the hang on. Oh, perfect. Temporarily ban a user from chat / timeout. Fin4K08. 4 hour. How do I do it? Like four. What is it? Let's say 240. Mentioning Nene speaker. There we go. No, that's only seconds. What the hell? Okay. I have to do like 14,400. I banished him for like 2 seconds. I get to change this thing. There we go. Okay, you can put an M after a time. It'll do minutes inside of seconds. Perfect. That's Nubs for Life stream is more helpful. Yeah, I didn't want to mute him forever, just for like one stream. I tried to cut his head off and only cut off the finger. You probably get asked this a lot, but how do you start learning the code? I don't actually get that asked a lot. I started trying to learn code after when I wanted to try to make Minecraft mods like 10 years ago. And then later on I actually took classes on how to do coding, and I actually figured it out. Who's this lame-o in the chat telling me that I don't have Twitch partner? Sorry, you're not a lame-o. I don't want to be mean. Okay. Is there a specific area of code that people want me to talk about? Because I redid basically the whole game, so. Rain effect. I was not the one who coded the rain effect. The free play boyfriend sprites. Let me show you. Let me talk about. So if you look here, free play boyfriend uses a sprite map. Yay. Eric didn't do rain check. Mogged by SHR Chan. Pin message. Since you can script crashes, can you add in old versions of the game as a mod with enough tweaking? Yes, there'd be a lot of tweaking though, and probably not worth it. I keep getting people who say that The hit sounds are delayed, but I haven't seen that in game personally. It seems fine to me. I don't know if it's like there might be like a lag issue. How'd the chart editor work for the planned Android port? We haven't done very much. We haven't done very much with the Android port yet. We'll have to make a new UI for the chart editor. Is there any way to fetch the polymod metadata in an HXC script? Yes. Polymod handler. Where is it? It's like Ninja Muffin says chart editor probably isn't gonna get a mobile version, and that's completely fair. So that's your answer. So how do it, what's the exact function for this? Like it would be like so like if you do this, then that will give you an array of mod metadata, which includes stuff like a version and offer. It also includes like the data for like the icon, the mod icon and stuff. So you probably can get like a mod loader working. Isn't mobile FNF planned to be almost like an FNF Lite of sorts? Segregate the mobile users from modding. Here's the thing. The what happens if I want multiple mods and I want midday for a specific one? I'll throw something in to make that easier. Here's the thing. Mod support on mobile is not like there'll be some work that'll need to be done to make it viable, but it is viable, especially if you keep it minimal on the scripts that like do stuff like read the keyboard and stuff. I don't know if you'll be allowed to I don't know if you'll be able to like make mods on mobile, but loading them probably will work pretty well. Let's see. It's like engine Android port around the corner. Let's see. Making mods will be less likely, I believe. Loading them should work with a few programming fine-tuning. The main thing, input offsets explodes on Newgrounds. I think it works if you load a song, like if you go into a song first and then you leave and then go into the input offsets. I think it works. Because I did see somebody say that they had it working. I remember when, so somebody said, I remember when Psych Engine was made, people were concerned about modding being too easy and it would result in a lot of bad mods. my sort of philosophy is that um uh how do I put this? Like there's you really want to there like the more people that can mod the game, the like objectively better, because you're always going to have bad mods. Um, and there's and you don't want like like it's impossible to make everything easy, but I want like people to be able to like put together some sprites and put them in the game without having to do a whole bunch of like compiling and stuff. Like sort of the bar that I set for myself is like a basic 3 song week with like a character and music and a stage that doesn't have any fancy moving graphics and stuff. That shouldn't require any code, I think. And then if you want to do something fancy, that's when you do code. Over time, things like the chart editor, the stage editor, will make those easy. Uh, will make those like easier to do. But I definitely there's like what was it? Codename Engine. I don't like a lot of like their interface design, but like their philosophy of like there should be like a little tool for like all the core stuff that you need to do to make a new character, make a new story week. Um, that stuff I really like. I like that philosophy for sure. Um, how will multiplayer work for erect mixes? We'll figure it out. There'll be probably a way of doing it. I think there's a couple things I've seen that have done things differently. Um, would a mod lo- would a mod loader menu work like Steam Workshop mods, like for the game? Like you just install them. You already like you so you can already just like plop zip files into the mods folder um, uh, and it should work pretty well. We will eventually have like a mod manager menu at some point. That's kind of necessary for how the mod system works in this game, but that's probably not happening soon, very soon. Jack X Sun Z says, "Can you play a random erect song? I want to see how good you are at it." No, I do not want to embarrass myself live on Twitch, so no gameplay from me today. Um, Multiplayer and online are going to be real interesting to look at once those aspects are added for sure. There's ways of doing modding. Um, the This person says that the hit sound delay only happens on the rec mixes, and for no normal songs there isn't really any delay at all. Um, how do I? The more 9-year-olds make little mods about their favorite EXE characters, the more opportunity there is for them to become future artists or programmers for big games someday. That's exactly correct. If you make an update to help run on lower end devices, my computer's old and barely run the update. We'll work on a lot of performance. The game will get more performant over time for sure. Let's see. Have you considered the options of adding or removing more in one strum line? I don't really know what that means. When it comes to mechanics inside of songs, will there be more mechanics like these in the future? That's the kind of thing that you'll just have to wait and see. Well, we fixed the character window in the chart editor only partially working. Somebody made a PR for that. I need to test it out, but it seemed like it was working. Sabat said that they're unable to select some characters in the chart editor. I was literally just, you know what? Let's do a little bit of let's get logged into GitHub and let's here we go. I'm gonna set up on I'm gonna get set up real quick, and we're gonna do, since people don't really have any other questions about the code, it seems like I'm gonna do some PR review. The stream should display as paused for everybody. Why is it so complicated to think of a character in the chart editor with the mouse? Let's we're logging into GitHub, and we're gonna do. I'm gonna pause the damn music. We're gonna do issue review. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can. I'm gonna move this into my. My stream overlay, and then it'll show up everywhere. There we go. Oh. Okay, so Gaben asked how the animation editor was coded. So coded. The way the quote-unquote edge detection works in that, let me show you. So where this one, So in here, these edges are not like we're not like detecting them. It's just reading from like every image has a corresponding XML file which kind of defines the bounds of each frame, and that's how the game knows which frames are like part of which animation. And if you go to like the animation preview mode, then it doesn't work for some reason. Where is he? I don't know. Is it over here? He is over here. He was just over here. Say hi, boyfriend. Oh, that moves him around. So he's like flipped in this. Oh. Yeah, the game just reads those parameters and draws the line from. Where's game? Sorry, streaming is not easy. Yeah, if you look at the spreadsheet, these red bounds are just defined by this file. Anyways, I'm gonna see if I can. Is there a pause stream button? I kind of want to like see if I can. I'm trying to capture the browser. Here we go. Okay, can you see that? Yeah, I wanted to review how far was the crew into Android porting? Not very far. We did a little bit of experimenting with it. I wanted to review this person's PR. I think I saw this person in the chat. They found an issue where the character drop-down grid of the chart editor had a broken hitbox. There's Mad Bear. This corrects an issue where the grid doesn't have the right bounds. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna git fetch poll there's like a oh, does that just break this? I think that just broke this one too. Yeah, I think that just broke this. Hang on. Okay, I'll have to figure all this out later. So the what is it? There's like a specific command I'm looking for. What is it? Fetch origin poll /2370 head : and then I'm gonna name it after 422 slash okay. Okay, did that apply properly? Oh, I see, this is the wrong target branch. I'm still trying to, yeah, I have to merge develop in here to make sure that it's actually okay. And then we're going to build it. And let's look at the specific file that it claims changed. It was, oh, I've got the game running in the background, that's why. Start debugging. What file was it? Sure. Editor, character, icon selector menu. Okay, so this, where is it? So when it creates the grid, it sets the width of the grid. This was being set to 100 before, and that's why you could only select the first 100 pixels. Don't leak anything on stream. This is a clean public repo. I have a different repo that I work in for working on NDA stuff specifically for that reason. So thank you, Roki Dread, for following. Let's see. Can we see the game? Wait, hang on, what's the build number? Yep, build number is correct. So if we look at this, there we go, the buttons work. Look at that, the buttons work now, yay! Let's try, let's play test and watch it like fail.
3, 2, 1, go!
This is not canon. Monster's offsets are kind of messed up when it's flipped. But yeah, that PR appears to work. So if I, how do I, is there a way to like, is there a way to like pause stream? Cause I really want to mess with the layout a little bit so I can actually switch between Visual Studio Code and Chrome. You can't pause the stream. Okay. That makes sense. But I can't like manipulate. I can't like manipulate a scene while I'm not. Let's just duplicate scene. And then this, I'm going to add a new window capture source. Google Chrome. Oh, that is not right. Or is it? Actually, it was right. Where did I just put that? Transform. Fit the screen. Okay. So what happens if I make it that big? There we go. And then I can just like do like a zoom in. I don't know why it's like kind of faded out, but if I go to here and then replace this with add scene Chrome, and then push that back. There we go. So now I have a scene to work in Chrome. Anyways, this PR, as we just saw on stream, this is bad that we can't compile to test. You can compile. I've done it just right now on stream. I'm gonna set myself as a reviewer. Add a approval saying this worked great. Tested on stream. Submit a review approval, and let's merge. We got something done today. Yippee. Why is it playing? Oh, it is. Never mind. I thought it was playing the sound version. I kind of want to get to bed early tonight, so I might do one or more reviews and then log off. Let's filter to ones that are not mine. Nebula Zora. Multiple times I pressed the chart key while already playtesting the charting and lost my chart. This makes it take you back to the chart editor when you press the chart debug key. This looks pretty good. Let's what's the command for this again? So what is it? Fetch origin poll 2323 slash head colon and then I'm going to name a local, name the local branch, Nebula Zora slash your hotkey, and then I'm going to get checkout, and then get merge origin slash develop. Okay, and then we're going to so I did fix if you're on develop, then I did fix uh, the issue with the FunkViz thing. So what file specifically changed here? I'm just gonna switch to my main monitor for a bit and hope I don't accidentally like leak something. So the file that changed is playstate 2552. You can see how practiced I am with VS Code by how fast I'm getting around. So if in charting mode, then it will just close, otherwise it moves to the chart editor state. Let's test this out. Elite VS Code Gamer, hell yeah. Can you hear my mic okay when I'm talking? Or am I talking too quiet? I sometimes talk too quiet. All right. I've got like, how many people in here? About 64? That's a pretty good number. Okay, let's go to Dad Battle. And let's press 7 and go to the chart editor. And it takes us to Dad Battle. We can skip around into the song and like, hello Burrito Bean, welcome to the stream. Let's see. If I play test, that takes me here. And if I press 7, there we go. That's nice. That's really nice. That's actually really handy. I like that a lot. So we're going to close the game. And I'm going to go here and how do I self-assign? There we go. Approve and submit review. Make sure it's targeting develop and merge. We're getting stuff done. We're getting stuff done. We're getting things completed. There's several. There's several PRs right now talking about like offsets for characters. What did you do? I didn't see. We're reviewing. So basically, the one we just reviewed is I pressed the keybind to go to the chart editor when I was already in the chart editor playtest, and instead of taking you to a new chart editor, it takes you to the old chart editor that you were in, which is way better than just like resetting people's progress whenever they try to move to the chart editor. Some of these are going to take a bit more review, like restored and fixed Discord RPC support. There's like a whole if we merge this internally, we need to make sure it doesn't boot up when using debug builds. Yeah, this is gonna require some more work from me because I'm gonna have to review it a whole bunch. Why is the test stickers button gone from the debug menu? Because we don't need it anymore. The stickers work. Hate to be that one annoying guy in stream, but I gotta try and do my part. I want to help to get the game in a good state. We are reviewing PRs, and if you have something to contribute, then that's really helpful. You'll have to go through and like test this out and make sure it works properly before I merge it, and then I'm gonna have to make sure that the debug builds don't enable it, because that would be a big problem if it did. Anyways, this person, all they did was change docs. They moved some of the docs over. And then they changed the license file. Those docs are years old. Yeah, you know what? Code style is newer. If you look at code style, I wrote a bit down. Changelog is definitely important and should be pretty front and center. Modding is this is a very old file. This is extremely old. So I don't think any of this is relevant to us. We probably just want to rework those files entirely or just delete them. Plus, we don't want anybody to touch the license files without permission, even to make small fixes. Close of comment. Boop boo. Let's look at PRs that I didn't make. Spelling and grammar fixes and documentation. Debug hotkeys. I need to rewrite that file because I have a actually like hang on. Let's make a change to go into the docs, debug hotkeys. Let's edit this file right now. Does the new license for assets mean that fan games like Online Versus can't be made anymore? You can ask Cam for clarification on that, but they should be fine. The main rule to keep in mind is that don't make anything like commercial. So like if you're like making like a mobile port that's filled with ads or something, then we don't want you to be able to do that using our assets. Is this, where did I put it? I had documentation somewhere on this. I'm just gonna write this whole file just because. Yeah, develop. So if you look at the structure of the code, there's the main branch here. The main branch is, we want this to be just whatever is in the release version of the game, like 0.3.2 or whatever. And develop is where we accumulate changes, like 17 commits from like users that like contribute fixes or fixes that we make ourselves that are going into the next release that we are fine with keeping public. And there are of course some changes that you won't see in this branch until the update is already out. But that'll be obvious. Where did the thing go? Okay. I'm gonna write all these down, cause can I copy this without it breaking? There we go. Yeah, so if you're on a debug build, you can press F2 to enable like a debug display. You can press F4 to move directly to the main menu without doing anything else. You can press F5. So this is a feature I really want to show off. Say you're in like say you're in the weekend 1 level, and let's build the game and show off. This is one of my, so without like a fully functioning stage editor, the way I made all the stages is using this technique that I'm going to show off real quick. So if I pull up this level, this level takes a second to load sometimes. Is it just broken? Oh no, it's Burger Balls. Curse you in your bloodline for making a pull request that changes code via the website and then never testing it. Is this just broken? Hang on. Oh, the game hit an exception for some reason. That was not a load time issue. That was not just taking a long time to load. That hit an error. Biome seed. There's some JSON to object automatic converter thing that's object to JSON instead. Like the there is a we do use a thing we do use a thing called JSON to object. That's literally what it's called with like a number 2. It's like 10 times better than the original game's JSON parsing because if you get a parsing error, then you'll see it in the debug console here, and it like validates all the types. How do I it's ban unwavering ads. There we go. Yippee. The bot's gone. Can I get into Too Hot without it crashing? No. Why is it crashing? I know exactly why it's fucking crashing. Bro, no object reference. Here's Dave. I'm working on merging some of the pull requests that people sent in. But first I wanted to show off hot reloading, but I kept getting a crash. What bugs are getting fixed? I'm not really sure. I was still looking. There's a couple people who reported who say they've got fixes for offsets. I'm gonna have to review that more. It's kind of weird. I don't know. This person added custom variations in free play. I'm gonna have to change this up because this will break. I know for a fact that this will break some stuff. there was one person where all they did was edit documentation. I'm probably gonna I'll think of something to. I'm just gonna close this without saying anything because like I don't think changing like 2 words in the documentation isn't gonna help. So yeah, I changed the position instead of adding offsets the normal Flixel way in order to work around something. But I forgot. But there, it was obvious to me when I was working on it why offsets are the way they are, but it doesn't work now. Anyway, I wanted to show if I go into Too Hot and it doesn't crash. There we go. So let's say we want to move Pico to the left. All I have to do is go into the stage JSON, set the position, like I can like just change it like that. And then if I go in game and press F5, it restarts it and crashes because that's Of course, every time I try to demonstrate something on stream, it crashes. But there is a null object reference. Is it obvious why it's doing that? What watching? Watch entries. Where's my crash handler? Is it crashing again? This is better than a crash handler. It's hooking directly into VS Code and telling me exactly where the error is. So that is and I can even like see if I'm like up like here, I can see like kind of like parts of the state of the program and stuff. And that is very useful for debugging. I'm going to see if I can fix this specific one right now. This might be a I'm just going to throw that in. I think that'll fix it. Hello. Let's see. Oh no, it has to be that. No, it's actually that. Yeah, have I actually... I'm gonna real quick, like if you've got it was running the game in the terminal that fixed it. That's actually not what the issue was. So let me kind of go over what the issue people were looking at is. So in general, say you have an object that's like this, and then you can access let's make this valid hacks. Something like that. I can do trace object.hello, and that'll print world. If I do object.test, that'll print 1, 2, 3, for example. Here's the problem. If I do object equals null, was that fixed? Stuff filling in my text? That is, what's it called? It's called Codium. It's like Copilot but different. It is very. I found that Codium has been better at filling in hacks in general, but yeah, Codium's free. They pay for it with like enterprise support. It's very Copilot and Codium, they're very useful. Like if you know what you're doing, then like seeing the suggestions and like having stuff fill it in for you is very much a good big time save. Anyways, the thing I'm trying to explain is if you set object to null, or like say it's like something like this. Say we've got a situation like this where you've got a situation where you're either getting data or null, which represents like empty. If you try to do this will crash the program. One thing you can do is like you can kind of like go around it. And that's what you want to do most of the time. In the worst case scenario, if you're accessing an object and your program doesn't catch it, then like if you're trying to access a property of a null and the program doesn't catch it, then it throws an error and crashes. I found a way to catch that error and write to a log file and then cleanly close the program. And that gives you like a nice pop-up and everything. Notably, if you do this and you're debugging like with the game hooked into VS Code, instead of just closing the game immediately, it will take you to the like exact line of code where the error happened, and it will give you a bunch of info, and you can work it out from there. In a release build, you don't have VS Code running in the background all the time, so you can like look at exactly what happened. So I made a crash handler, which is in crash funkin.util.login.crashhandler.hx. So what the crash handler does is it goes in here and it says, okay, there's been an error, build a crash log and and fetch all this info like your driver info, the current FLX state, a list of libraries being used, a list of mods being used, the error message, all that stuff. But what happens if one of these functions itself throws a null object reference? Then you get the default behavior. Codium, it's just Codium. But anyway, yeah, Codium's really good. Anyways, if the crash handler itself gets a null object reference, then it has to default to the default crash handler, which is just a vague pop-up and then a close. So anytime people were getting a null object reference and then the game closing, they were getting a different error, and then they were getting an error trying to generate the crash report. So yeah, it's the ultimate irony. I believe most of the cases where the crash reporter could crash are all resolved. So you should be getting normal error messages. If you download the game from GitHub, and then, or like if you download the source code from GitHub, install all the correct Hum dependencies, and then instead of running Lime test windows, you go into this window, Run and Debug, and you click Run here. You can do all sorts of stuff like pause the game while it's running and be like in the middle of the state of the application and see all the stuff that's going on. And that is very helpful. The thing I like to do with it is like if I go to main menu state.ajax and like say I'm trying to debug something with the transition to free play state. If I click here and add a breakpoint, then I can do this, and it pauses the game. It pauses the game while it's running to tell me I'm right here. I can do stuff here. And that is very powerful. I was in the middle of doing something. I can't remember what it was. I think I'm going to review who has not. Currently working on a background dim option. Is this for like a plus numeric preferences? Oh yeah, I was rewriting these docs. Here we go. I am copying these I have docs somewhere else that I'm working with. So I'm just going to copy those in and make sure that they're all formatted properly. Do. Let's keep that one. I didn't document. Oh yeah, I should show off this. Immediately crashed the game with a detailed crash log and a stack trace. That is a thing. I'm gonna once the game starts up, I'll show that hockey. Reggie's rating with 28. Nice job. Hello, everyone. How many viewers are we at now? We are at 83. Hello, everybody. Yes, you can ask questions if you're here. I want to show off Control Shift L. This is the correct error message that you get. If yippee, thank you for the dollar, Sugar Moon. But yeah, this is the message you get if you crash the game and the crash handler works. You get like a message and you get a whole thing that you can send to the developers and we can fix it. Streamer tip 101. Never pay attention to how many viewers you have. That's fair. Yeah, the problem people were having day one of the launch is that oh, here we go. Thank you for reminding me that I'm zoomed in. The problem people were having is that the crashes that people were experiencing, I was also not getting proper logs for it. And so the logs, the messages that I did get, the messages that I did get proper logs for, I fixed in like a minute, 2 minutes. Genesis Blast says you tried to compile the game after you followed every step. It said error, could not find path to. asset preload. Did you? So a lot of these issues that people are having are the type of issues that are resolved very easily if you actually read the documentation and clone things properly. Because it sounds like you didn't. It sounds like you. It sounds like you specifically didn't download the assets properly, which means that you didn't do a clone that recurs submodules. Base game assets are really picking up now, but I fear new people might not know stuff that's good practice, like preloading assets. Check your assets folder. Is there anything in there? Biome Seed was saying base game mods are really like I do want to do some stuff that improves loading times and like performance and make things auto load and like have a standard way of making sure things load properly, stuff like that. I already have like a warning in that if you're not preloading assets, but I don't have a great system for guaranteeing things get preloaded properly and that other things don't get preloaded. Anyways, I'm going to finish this. Is there a way to replace or modify states right now? And does it work if multiple mods try to do it? There's like a hack thing. There's like a hack thing you can do to like load a custom state over top a current one. But that doesn't work if multiple mods try to do it. Stuff preloads fine. If you want to change characters, then if you don't preload the graphics beforehand, it will lag mid-song. One of the things I want to do is add a proper like change character song event. And when I do, I'll make like a thing that that scans for all the characters that get used and properly preloads them. And that'll be useful for the future. I wonder if there'll be something put in place to make option adding easier. Probably. Can I... Here we go. I'm going to make this a... I'm going to have to test this one because I feel like there's a reason we didn't do this one. I know for a fact this one doesn't work. This pull request. I saw this pull request and I looked at it and I was like, what the hell is this doing? And I looked at it and this is horrifying. Like, what does this even do? This is literally just like raw C++. Like, I don't even know. Does anybody have... So, As mentioned in this issue, the created explorer.exe process created by the file util.open folder doesn't get terminated by its own, taking up memory. This, I don't. Of course, the explorer.exe process will still take up memory because you've literally got the Explorer open. I don't understand. It creates a separate explorer.exe process which doesn't terminate when... Oh, it doesn't terminate when you close the window. I see. The fact that this doesn't work on Windows is a deal breaker for sure. One thing, can scroll speed be changed to a variable you can easily change on the strum line? I tried doing that and it broke everybody's game for a bit. There was like a release of 0.3.2 that was super broken and I had to revert that change to fix it. I was thinking of ways to add menus, custom menus for multiple mods, and your best way is to make a base mod that replaces the main menu and just adds buttons for mods that want to use it. Like, we want to do something eventually where like mods go into their own little sandboxes basically. It's kind of difficult to do, but did you know about the bug that occurs when playing a song in free play and out of nowhere it opens the command line and redirects you to the merch store? We know about that one. The reason it's doing that is in some cases when you move from like the game back into free play, the main menu stays active behind your thing. And so like if you like go into a song and then leave the song and then move down twice and then go in, on the free play menu you just selected a song, but underneath you're in the main menu and you just selected merch. And that's what's happening. That's why it doesn't happen every time. And I believe that got fixed in 0.3.2. What version of the game are you on? I will look into a better solution for this that doesn't use a whole bunch of I want to try what this person mentioned. This Have you ever seen the bug where if you press R and enter the game just kind of let's try this one out live. We're doing it live. Don't unbind the stage editor key. What does that do? I will try it in a minute. Biome seed. That sounds like a very easy to reproduce thing. But I'm gonna try the R enter thing first. Okay, let's do oh, I set a breakpoint over here.
On a Friday night
Let's do blaze. Let's do blazing like this person said. And hold down R and enter.
3, 2, 1, go.
It doesn't do it.
3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, it's not doing anything for me. Yes, I'm pressing like
3, 2, 1, go.
oh
3, 2, 1, go.
that's very interesting.
3, 2, 1, go. 3, 2.
That's very interesting.
1, go.
If somebody can grab a clip of this, like I'm pressing R and enter at the same time and it's doing that, can you, if somebody can grab a clip of this and put it up on the GitHub issues, that would be really helpful for me. Anyways, let's look at this.
Getting freaky on a Friday night yet.
Controls. Stage editor. Let's bind it to 8. And then let's unbind it. Let's bind it to 8. And then go in and make sure that works. The stage editor isn't exactly the most stable thing right now. Like, it's kind of acting weird. Like, you can see it kind of acts weird. And then if you go back in, oh, wrong menu, go to controls. Oh, Steam release will be like we'll get all the bugs first, ironed out first. And then if I unbind it, that was odd. I saw that. Like, what's it doing here? That does take a while. It's stuck doing something. Jeez, it is stuck. It's like... Power can's done in too hot because it doesn't seem to be an event or note time. It's a note kind plus song script. The notes are labeled with a note kind, and then the character and song have things that look for that specific note kind. Holy shit. Holy shit, what is going on here? Hang on, I did it wrong. You can't see my screen. Look at this. There's like the list of keys for... So it binds the key to like it's binding the key like thousands of times, and I don't know why it's doing that. It specifically happens when you when you unbind the stage keybind, and that's like frozen the game. I think what we're gonna do. I think what we're gonna do is I need to figure out why it's doing that. That's like very. This is gonna be a real stinker to figure out. I'm gonna have to like. From save data. Look at this. It's binding each to like several thousand. It's binding each of your like buttons to like several thousand different keys. Well, the same keys rather. I'm not sure exactly what. Oh, this is probably encoded in your save data too. How are saves stored? There's like a persistent thing. It's all in one big save file. Is there hope for an actually readable save format like JSON in the future? We're probably not going to alter the save file too much. The save file is currently stored in your app data folder, and it's in a not very readable format. How do I get to... How do we get here? Like if I close the game and run it, yeah, it'd be funkin.sol. there's a weird charting error and lit up where two notes are stacked on top of each other. I remember hearing about that. If there's a bug report on it, then we can look into it. But this keybind issue, we have to figure it out first. SOL is a format for Flash game saves. I remember it using like I was looking at the code for it, and I remember it using like a hack serialization function. So it's like the format internally is probably a lot newer. The hell is it doing? Oh my god. It's stuck. Let's try. You want to send some screenshots. For some reason the game glitches in Darnell when trying to load Pico playable. Just post it into just post a GitHub issue for it. I don't know what you're saying is loud. Yeah, let's just do. I don't think that will break anything if I do that. You got an indefinite git commit.hx issue where it just stops at line 26 and never builds. I don't know why it's like. Well, it's probably stuck after that line then. Hey, guess what? New secret rare null function reference. It's the secret shiny variant. The spin-off. I'm gonna try seeing if this helps. The evil version, null object reference and null function reference are both evil. That is the important thing to realize. They are both going to crash your game, so they are both evil. So there's like 3 of each. I've got an idea. That didn't do it. Okay. Anyways, I think that fixes it. So the lag is because like it's rebinding the same key. So the issue where if you bind the stage editor key, it loads the stage editor in the game and that causes it to lag. It's like I found like a stopgap for it. That's not the reason why it's rebinding. But I made it so that it ignores the rebinds in the menu, so it doesn't break it anymore. It doesn't break it anymore. But I'm probably going to have to find. Let's see. I have to figure out exactly what's causing. Is there a recommended version of hacks I should use for base game compiling? Most recent, so like 4.3 point whatever it is. I think 4.3.4. You should make it so it only binds once instead of multiple times. That is what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to figure out exactly where it's binding multiple times. Am I a boy or a girl? I am a boy, and I take heed. I am a boy. Let's see. Do you have plans on making the game render at different resolutions? Yes, I am going to probably look through and see what I can do about that at some point. I'm trying to figure out why it's binding it twice. let's throw a hook here. What happens if I rebind UI right? That binds it like 5 times. And now it's up to like 7 times. Hang on. I may have found it. Does the rebind screen check just press? That's not the issue. I'm gonna try. You can hear the cogs in my brain turning right now. let's see. Do, 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 do. Should be, I think I mentioned this already, but this is the public repo, so there should be no builds in here. Cool util is in fact dead. I split it up into other files. I can't actually move right on the I can't move right on the UI anymore. This keybind is fake. It's not actually correct. I have to undo that change that I just made. Oh, that would probably do it. I'm assigning the keybind and then immediately deleting it. Put weekend 1 into week 7 engine because the bug didn't happen back then. That's not how game development works. Definitely bring up issues if you have them, for sure. Hang on, if I Now it's back to being like that, so that did not fix it. I suffer from bugs all the time, but I get around them. Actually, wait. This is me when bugs. This is me when I'm trying to fix this bug. Eh. It is super evil. It's like I'm trying to go into like figure out all the places that it could be duplicating the keybinds. Let's unbind it and see what it looks like now. That looks pretty good. Happy Eric. If we bind it, still looks good. I think that fixed it. I think that fixed it. I think that fixed it. I'm gonna make. I think that did it. I think that did it. Yeah, we did it. Am I going to be archiving this stream? There will be a VOD, yes. And I did get it so that Spotify music doesn't play in the background. So I won't have any issues with that. Will I be dropping a 0.3.3 after this stream? It might be a while. Phantom Arcade just like deletes streams because like he doesn't want to have to deal with getting copyright music out of the VODs. And I found a secret technique to do it. Jack X Sun Z, can we remake the game automatically full screen on launch? Make a issue on the GitHub, and I'll look into making it like a thing in the options menu. Oh, the secret. There's like a thing where you can like use the audio mixer to make certain audio sources only play in the actual audio OBS audio channels. Pressing escape several times in the free play menu. Let's look at that one. I'm gonna get the I'm gonna get these controls fixes in. So Um, I don't think that's relevant. This one isn't relevant. Waiting for the game to build. Free play menu. I have never seen that. Oh, that is so funny. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. That's an easy fix. That's funny. Like you just the easy way to fix that is to just like add a debounce it. Yeah, if you just check if like I just like on like this menu there's like a thing that like prevents you from spamming enter. So we just copy that code. Anyways, I want to get some pull requests made and it's funny as shit, but it's definitely too buggy looking. I think it should go. Will note splashes be added back into week 6? I don't think there are any note splashes in week 6. Like, there's no sprites for it. The combo meter, there's no sprites for it because we need to make sprites for it. What happened to the combo meter apart from the graphics being scrapped? So like, I guess like the like the combo meter, like the idea, like we kind of wanted to rework how often it appears, and like Dave just wanted to like redo the graphics for it entirely. I think like you may have loved it. It was cool. Like it was cool like the first couple times, but like after you saw it a lot of times, it started to get really annoying. What are you most scared of when coding? The trick to good coding is to never be scared. Worst case scenario is like it breaks and you can just fix it. This fixes a no object reference from earlier. Yeah, once I'm finished making these PRs, I'm probably going to. Do you think Funkin is close to being the most complex Flixel game? Almost definitely. Um, what Flixel game is more complex than this? We definitely push things to their limits a lot. There's a couple Flexel games out there. What was I gonna name this? Bug fix slash. Yeah, I think the reason it was happening is because like it must have been like exponentially completing all why did I get all sick and one good but still broke my combo in Bo Peebo? Um did it show as like a combo break in game, or did you just get like a 99% in the menu? Because 99% in the menu, there should be a fix for that. Because like that's just like a display issue. Anyways, let's commit that and push it, and then let's write some PRs. Where's the issue on this is not related. Will there be other people's PR reviews or just issue resolution this stream? I was doing some PR reviews earlier, but like I'm starting to wind things down. I think I'm gonna hop off soon because it's kind of getting late for me.